Hey love, so today we're going to go over some Colourpop frequently asked questions. I often get asked many questions about what brush I use, how I apply them, how long they last, and how I revive Colourpop eyeshadows that have dried out. So I'm going to go through really quick each product category and let you know how I use them, what brush I use, if I use brushes, if I use their fingertips, and all of that. So let's just jump right in. Okay, we're going to start with eyeshadows because I think that is the number one item I probably get questions about, and everyone asks, how do I apply them? We'll go with that question first. How do I apply them? Most of the Colourpop eyeshadows I will apply with my fingertip. Any of the shimmery shades, I have one on my lid right now and one on my lower lash line. I always either use my fingertip for the shimmery shades like the metallics, the Super Shock pigments, all of those ones. The only ones I really tend to use a brush with are the matte ones, and I always use a fluffy brush just to blend that in a crease, and sometimes a little smudger brush for my lower lash line. If I ever do use a brush, let's see, use any sort of brush for the glittery ones or any of them really, I would use one of these. This is just a synthetic flat paddle brush. It's super dense, so it's going to be really nice to pack that color on. I find that my fingertip works way better than using a brush, so I tend to use my fingertip. Even on my lower lash line, I went in with a little bit of my fingertip. I will often also go in with sponge tip applicators. This is just a little sponge tip applicator. It came in a BH Cosmetics palette that I was just using, and I actually use this as well to apply that color to my lower lash line. So these come in super handy, so whenever you get a little palette that has one of these in there and you're tempted to throw it out, hold on to it and definitely try it with one of your Colourpop eyeshadows, because seriously, it's one of my favorite ways if I don't want to use my fingertip, especially for my lower lash line. I love using one of these because the area is obviously so much smaller than tapping it on your lid. So again, if I'm going to use for the shimmery metallic shades, any of the Super Shock pigments, all of those, anything but the matte shades, I'm going to use either my fingertip, sponge tip applicator, or a densely packed flat paddle brush like this guy. This one is just from BH Cosmetics, I think. Actually, no, I'm a liar. This one just came in a set on eBay, so I just looked up purple makeup brushes and this guy was in there. You can also use, this would be a good one. This is a Sigma E60 large shader brush. Anything that's just flat and pretty tightly packed bristles. So that will work really well. And then for the matte shades, I tend to use a fluffy brush. This is just the Sigma E40. You can use any fluffy brush. They honestly blend really well. I would definitely love using a fluffy brush with the matte shades. But I'll also use my fingertip with the matte shades as well. They work really well for the crease with one of these guys. Let's see. And then another question I often get is, how long do they last? It's been said that the Super Shock shadows have about a year lifespan. I have this one right here. I'm actually wearing this one today. This one I've honestly had for about a year because I ordered it about a month. So I probably had it about 11 months because they just celebrated their year anniversary, and I ordered them just about a month after I had become a company. So this one is Dare, and this one is actually, so I've had it for almost a year, so therefore it should be drying out. Yes, is what you would think. And I've actually used this guy quite a bit. This is one of my most used ones. This was literally one of the first 5 that I ever ordered. So it's definitely gotten some use out of it. There's a little bit of dry product hanging out in there, but let me see. So it's not as creamy as it once was, but you can definitely still use this. Still got a lot of pigment, but what I'm going to do is show you really quick how I revive one that's a little bit dry, because I had one that I left open for a little while and it was just a little bit hard. You could still use it, but it wasn't quite getting the pigmentation that I wanted because it wasn't quite as creamy as it once was. So what I did was I just took some MAC Fix Plus and just like drenched it in there. I took like the end of a shadow brush and just kind of poked some holes so there was a place for the MAC Fix Plus to go, so we could really get down in that product. Alright, so hopefully you'll be able to see all of the little dots that I put in there. So there is a place for the product to go in, and look, this is not even necessary at this point with this one because you're still getting decent pigmentation out of this one. It's just a little dry. So then I would just take the MAC Fix Plus and just spray it in there. Probably like 4 sprays. And then I would just kind of smush it around a little bit. Not too much because I don't want to spill any product. I just want to evenly distribute the Fix Plus. And I'm sure you can use like a spatula or something much more high tech, but I know most of us girls are going to have a makeup brush lying around. So I'm just smushing it around in there, and then even if you want to use it right away, you can still use it and it's going to give you, let's see, a lot more pigmentation in one swipe. You can already see how much darker that is. And that's 2 swipes of it before, and then this one is with just 1 swipe, and then there's 2. So see how much more pigment you're gonna get after you wet that with the Fix Plus. So you can use it right away, but once I get enough in there, I'm gonna put one more spray in. And that's just gonna kind of sit on the top and just make sure it's like all distributed in there. Now it's gonna look like that. And then honestly, I'm just going to put the cap back on and wait about a day. You probably don't even have to wait that long, but within about a day, it was perfect again for me to use. So that totally fixed it. Totally good. So I hope that helps you guys out, because I know a lot of you are really worried about the shelf life. That is something that has helped me remember that even if they dry up, it's still just like using a powder shadow, and you can definitely wet it. MAC Fix Plus is definitely my best friend. I love this guy. You can also get, I think any setting spray is gonna work. I think this one just works well because there's glycerin in it. It helps the shadow remain moist, so it keeps the moisture in there and it's not gonna completely dry up. It's not gonna be like a super dry setting spray that's gonna be kind of equivalent to hairspray is what I think of. This one will hold its moisture if there's enough in there. And the shadow that I use this in, that shadow is still totally good. It's been months since I fixed that guy. So, Fix Plus, fix it. Yes. All right, we're gonna move on to lippy sticks and lippy pencils. This one will be really quick because there aren't really that many questions that I get about these guys. I have gotten a question where people have had problems with some of the lippy sticks settling in their lines and how to fix that. Something that I usually do, and if you watch a lot of my tutorials, you will notice that I usually fill in, well, almost all the time, I fill in my entire lip with the lippy pencil first and then go in with the lippy stick. Not only is this gonna prevent the lippy stick from settling into any lines, if it is one that does, I don't really have that many problems with it, but I also always fill in my lip. So fill in your entire lip with the lippy pencil and then go in with the lippy stick, and it'll last longer. You're not gonna have that issue with it settling into lines or bleeding or anything. I usually try to almost always, if there is a matching lippy pencil, I buy them because it's so good to have both of those colors. But I mean, if you have any nude, you can put that under almost anything, or nude with nude, or pink with pink. Definitely mix it up, and then you can get more colors out of it too by mixing your pencils with your lippy sticks. All right, now we're gonna talk about blushes. I get asked a lot how I apply the blushes. I often apply them after I put on my foundation, but before I powder. When I powder my face, I normally only set my under eye and maybe my nose and my chin. I don't normally set my entire face, but if I were to, I would definitely apply this guy before I set anything. So I like to apply it on top of the wet foundation before it dries. Even after the foundation dries, as long as there's not powder, I feel like these will go over powder, and I have put them over powder, but they work the best when they're going straight on top of that foundation and not having to fight with any sort of powder. And then I often use this brush, is my favorite. This one is just a stippling brush from Real Techniques. Nothing fancy. It just gets the product on really well. I don't tend to use my fingertips as much with these blushes. If I want a more color, if I want more color impact, I will use my fingertips to tap them on. I chose a really light one that's not going to give you, but I honestly will just tap this guy in there. I think of this a lot like I use the matte shadows with a fluffy brush. I do the same thing where I just kind of tap it in, and that gets enough product on the bristles that you're going to get some color payoff. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that at all, but you can see that there is blush transferring right there. Yeah, you can see that. So it totally works. This blends out really nicely. I usually do one cheek, blend it all the way out at a time, but you can go back and forth and even it out. And sometimes I will use this and then go right in with my fingertips if there's any places that I want more pigmentation. All right, highlighters. We're getting to the last product here. So highlighters, I pretty much always use, whoa. This brush is almost exactly the same as the stippling brush. It's just a different shape. This one is just the Duo Fiber contour brush. It's just kind of pinched, so it works really well for getting that highlight on the face I pretty much always use this brush. I don't tend to use my fingertips unless I want a really strong highlight, but sometimes I will take this and I will put it on my cheeks. And you can see how much pigment that just put on there. Whoa. I better put it on the other cheek now. If I want to put any on my nose though, I'll use my fingertip. Because I don't usually, sometimes I'll use this on the bridge of my nose. I don't know, I feel like this just works better with powder highlighters. But you can always tap it along your nose. And if you want, I mean, you can always totally use your fingertips. I just tend to use that brush because that brush works so perfect for me. Love this little guy for the Colourpop highlighters. Oh no, bronzers. What am I doing? Bronzers. Alright, and now really the last thing we're going to talk about are the bronzers. Right here I have Bon Voyage, and I actually love using the Real Techniques contour brush, the one that's got the orange handle and it's really small and kind of a little dome brush. That one works fantastic with any cream bronzers, and it works really well with the Colourpop bronzers. But I grabbed a couple other ones that are good options. This one is the Expert Face Brush. It's pretty much the same density as that little guy, so you could use this if you wanted a larger area covered. I just like the size of the other one because I like to contour with some of the bronzers. And then this guy, this is just a flat top foundation brush from Tweezerman. So just a little one. Anything that's condensed like that is going to get some decent pigmentation. Again, just tapping in. Hopefully you can see that that is distributing product. It's not going to be super intense, but I am a pale girl, so I definitely want something that's not going to be super intense, and it's going to blend out really nicely with a brush like this. Right there. Sometimes if I want it to be a little stronger, I will take my fingertip and just like tap it on at the back and then blend it forward. You could always put it on and then blend it out really fast. I would definitely do one cheek at a time because these do dry and then stay on all day. Alright, I think that is everything. If you guys have any other questions about any other products or anything, just leave them down below. So I hope this video was helpful and it taught you something today and helped you out with any of your Colourpop questions or woes or anything like that. I don't think there's any other questions that I can think of that I've gotten, but if you have any, please leave them down below and I will try and answer those for you. Or you guys can always help each other out down in the comments below. I love when you guys do that because it helps me out, because it's really hard to respond to every comment every day as I do work full time and have a lot of other stuff going on and have to film and edit and all that jazz, but I try and talk to every single one of you that I can because I love you guys so much. Let's see, thumbs up this video if you liked it, and also if you want to see more Colourpop videos in the future. I think that is everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Each product category, pretty, that the pigments